Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight I'll be joined by, first up, he's the man behind the stats, and I can officially confirm he's 72% mini cheddar. It's Danny the GFP.
I'm off the mini cheddars. I'm on my New Year workout.
Don't move your leg. I can hear you crunch. Oh, good, I know.
Yes.
Our next guest steps in for the missing in action Jeff Arsenal. It's GC from She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. Hello.
Yeah, Evelyn, I did do a search for Jeff earlier, but because I couldn't find Arsene Wenger, I couldn't find Jeff hanging out of his arse. So I hope Jeff's okay, and speak to him soon.
If you had have found him, you'd have only got ankles anyway. So.
Well, I mean, the idea was tie a rope round the ankle, push Wenger off a cliff, and then Jeff would pop out of his arse.
No, on a serious note, Jeff has gone to see Oxlade-Chamberlain's behind closed doors game tonight, hasn't he, Danny? Against Fulham.
He has, and fuck knows how he got in there. He's breaking in. He went in there yesterday and slept in the toilets overnight, so they don't know if he's there.
Yeah, he's got Jeff Arsenal Nigeria looking after the main account.
Hello, Jeff Nigeria. How you doing, sir?
Long-time friend of the show.
Yeah.
Katanga.
Right, next up, a man who considers it a bad day if he's not consumed his own body weight in Jack Daniels. It's our angry Venezuelan John. Hello, John.
Hello, fellas. How you doing?
Very good.
Yes, not too bad at all. We'll move on. Next, a man that requires no intro, as it's only wasting time. He could be ripping out of the Spurs fans. It's Steve, Mr. Lord Hillwood.
Evening, Minges. How we doing?
Oh, you just had to slip that in there nice and early.
It's never too late to slip in a minge.
Oh, we all like a bit of minge.
I'll get what you did there. Right, and finally, our special guest, who is very rarely late, but when he is, you can guarantee he'll arrive two-footed. It's ex-Arsenal midfielder Dave Hillier. Hello, Dave.
Hello guys. I will arrive two-footed, but I'll also be polite, unlike the rest of you, and just say hello to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
See, they've been doing it too long. They just take it for granted now.
Unlike the rest of those alabaster retards.
Oh, Jesus. You've dropped the R-bomb so early into the podcast.
I went to see the moon, and the moon told me all about it. He's not happy.
Yeah, button moon. Only the one game to discuss this week, but my God, what a game it was. I'll let the suspense grow just a little bit more by going straight over to Danny, who's going to give us all the Arsenal scores from across the board.
You hadn't even asked me if I'd done those. You just took it for granted. Well, we've married. It's disgusting.
In the WhatsApp group this morning, or this afternoon, or whenever I woke up, I put an 11-point list of things we were going to do on the show.
Yeah.
Pardon you, whoever that was. And if you haven't read it, then it's on your head.
Right, the ladies. Still no games as the season has I put not started. I think I meant not started. And the Champions League games restart in late April with an away game at Birmingham City. And if they win that game, that both legs or the aggregate score, they're through to the quarterfinals. Jubbly. The under-18s, they played on the 21st of December against Norwich. At Norwich come to us, and we won Norwich won 1-0. That's not too bad, really, I suppose, because they've had all their players stolen and put in the under-21s. Their next game is on the away to Reading on the 18th of January, 11 a.m. kickoff. Go along and support the youngsters if you can. The under-18s are currently rock bottom of the southern section of the league, in 11th place, 2 points behind the team above them, West Brom. So, yeah. They're not doing too well. Yeah. Well, it's not. It's about getting games under your belt, not about winning leagues. Well, that's what David Moyes tells them. The under-21s on the 20th of December drew 1-1 at home to Man United with a goal from Thomas Eisfeld in the 58th minute after being 1-0 down. They're actually kicked off tonight 57 minutes ago away at Fulham. So hopefully we're about 8-0 up in that at the moment.
Have you not got us a recent score update?
I shall go and have a look. I've been busy talking
It's
to you a lot.
still 0-0.
Is it?
Still 0-0.
Where do you get all these from?
It's all bad because you don't follow Arsenal on Twitter, Danny. That's why.
Oh, I don't. That's why. Our next game is away at Middlesbrough on the 15th of January. It's a 12 p.m. kickoff, so as usual, go along if you can. Tell them we said hello. The under-21s are now 7th, 10 points behind the leaders Fulham, but we have 3 games in hand. And finally, when it comes to the youngsters, on Monday in the FA Youth Cup, we went to Adrian Dunham's Peterborough and my local team and spanked them 6-1. And it was funny because on Monday, Adrian Dunham was saying on TalkSport that the last time Peterborough played against Dan Crowley, Peterborough won, I think, 4-1. So that night, Dan Crowley, or Crowley, whichever way you want to say it, probably Crowley, scored 2 goals, got 4 assists. Isn't that right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Akpom got a hat-trick. Maitland-Niles got the other one. And so, hello, Adrian Durham, if you're listening. Your boys took one hell of a beating. And so, in the FA Youth Cup, we've scored 5 against Torquay, 6 against Peterborough, 11 goals in 2 games. Not too shonky. Over and done. Bong.
Fantastic. First up, we'll talk about the last game. Can anyone here remember who it was we played and in what competition?
No. It's a bit of a dead rubber, really, wasn't it?
It was. That sounded wrong, but wasn't it against the Scum?
Do you know what a dead rubber is?
Something
tennis.
that you've discarded after intercourse.
No, it's a tennis term for a dead rubber. I think a rubber is called one game. I'll
I
Google
prefer
it.
my suggestion. Beats rubbing it on the curtains anyway. Let's go straight over to David to get his thoughts on the match.
On the Spuds game, are we allowed to say that? Shit.
£10 fine.
£10 for it.
Fine. Right, I'll donate. Well, I was actually doing the commentary for the Arsenal media on the game. I thought Tottenham, to be honest, went with too naive playing 4-4-2, and throughout the game, Tim Sherwood's lack of technical ability to change his team just stood out like a sore thumb. I mean, 4-4-2 is what we played back in the 90s anyway. You can't play that anymore. Players are too cute for that. They're too mobile, too technical. And then what amazed me was the kickoff for the second half. I mean, the ball went back to Dembele, who kicked the ball out to the right wing, where Adebayor tried to flick it onto somebody. I mean, that's out of, not trying to disrespect the game that I played in, but that was the game back then, but sort of 20 years ago. He really showed some naivety. And I thought after the first 10 minutes, apart from little pieces of individual skill from Tottenham, Arsenal's movement just they just couldn't handle it. They couldn't switch play. They couldn't get out of holes. You had Lennon and Carl Walker on one side who had just got all the gear and no idea. They got all that pace, but don't know what to do with it. Ain't got a trick in their book, and it was just too one-dimensional. And for me, Arsenal battered them. But obviously, I've got with the Arsenal media, I've got the option of having Opta stats, and you look at the actual game stats of the game, and if you was just reading it basically on that, Arsenal had 46% of the possession, Tottenham had 54%. Distribution-wise, 418 passes for Arsenal, 494 for Tottenham. You just wouldn't get that, in many other Arsenal matches, and a lot of that is to do with the last 12 minutes with Theo going off and them having 11 against 10. But on the whole, I just thought they was outclassed. The Arsenal midfield absolutely dominated the game. Adebayor just got caught up. The crowd absolutely battered him from the start and played him out of the game. He was coming short, trying to do things and trying to prove himself and show off, and it just went totally, played a negative into his game. He couldn't play the game at all. So Darlow was frustrated. Ericsson was stuck out on the left wing. I just think it was from the minute one, it was a managerial nightmare.
I mean, for those that don't listen to this show or know that we have a WhatsApp group and we talk about the games and stuff while they're happening or whatever. And the lineup before the game, I don't think everybody in the group was happy with it. Gav, were you happy with the lineup that you chose?
I don't think that Wenger had much other sort of choice really, but to play who he did. And like I say, when you saw how Tottenham were lining up, I mean, I was saying to a couple of Tottenham fellas that I work with and agree completely with what David just said. 4-4-2, we just completely run through the middle of them, and they just did not know how to cope with our midfield. So I don't think it really mattered how we lined up. I thought Theo was having one of his better games that he's ever had for us, especially probably one of his best games he's ever played straight down the middle on his own. But it was. I know it sounds bad, but it just all seemed a little bit too easy. And it was just nice. It was nice to watch the game. I wasn't completely stressing out to the end of the game or till we're 2 or 3 goals up. I think we could still be playing now, and Tottenham still wouldn't have scored.
Mm.
They're
I mean,
just that shit.
I honestly thought, and I turned around to my other half after watching it, and I said, that's probably one of the most enjoyable games I've watched of Arsenal's this season. I don't know who agrees with me. Danny?
Certainly do agree with you, sir. Well said.
Thank you very much.
That's right.
So, who impressed then for us on that day? We'll go over to Steve.
Well, obviously, I think Walcott and Gnabry. I think Gnabry's movement was brilliant, and he seems to have a good understanding of Walcott as well. When Gnabry robbed somebody of the ball and ran in towards Spurs penalty area to slot the ball through someone's legs to set Santi up for the first goal, it was Walcott's movement across the goal. He took both centre halves with him, opening up the space for Gnabry to play that ball. But Gnabry never gave up all game, and he's quite a physical little type as well. Robbing people the ball, getting stuck in. He wasn't fazed by it at all, which for an 18-year-old is really quite incredible. And I think, for what he had to do as well at the other end, Fabianski had to make one save in the first couple of minutes of Eriksen, and he did okay. And I just think for me that the whole game was our movement and the speed and the skill of our players was just too much for them. And they made it even worse with the tactics. I mean, if Theo had finished the chances he's had, we would have beaten them by 6.
I honestly thought, did Gnabry get man of the match? I don't recall it.
Just looking at the stats here, according to whoscored.com, he got an 8.8 rating, which is higher than anybody else. Yes, I think he did. The next highest was Rosicki with 8.1. So, quite clearly man of the match.
I said you were the man behind the stats. Still 72% mini cheddar.
Hey.
We put it out on the Arsenal Matchday show, and the feedback we got was it was Gnabry closely followed by Rosicki. So, that adds up. But obviously Santi was in there. Santi had a good game. Theo kind of, I agree slightly. Theo had a decent game, but he had 2 great opportunities to pass the ball when he could have put other players in that we would have had goals earlier on. But we didn't see from Theo centre forward play. We didn't see sort of going up to the front, laying off. It was purely a midfield based game. It was almost like having 5 or 6 midfielders, and Theo was just one of the midfielders who just happened to be slightly further in advance of everybody else. And it was just pure movement that killed everybody. And I agree, Gnabry, for 55, 60 minutes until he ran out of steam a little bit because, his first game, and it's pretty intensive, that first half for him. He was fantastic. He was direct and he's so powerful. We saw him have a couple of one-on-ones with Dembele, and he just, Dembele's a strong lad. He's got to be 6'2". He's a big boy. He was muscling the big lads. And I think to come into that game and what we said on the match day was a lot of them players hadn't played in big derbies. Only probably 3 or 4 of them had been involved had won cups. Only 4 or 5 had played in the real big derbies like the Spanish derbies or the English derbies. But they all played like they knew what a derby meant, and they just took it to Tottenham from the start. And that was the most pleasing thing for me, was to see them all playing like they actually came from the red side of North London. That's what I loved, and that they all played for the shirt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do we think that anything down to the victory? And I know me and you, Dave, we spoke over the phone, maybe Monday or Tuesday, about how Tottenham didn't seem up for the game, and the only player that really stood out for me was probably Eriksen. Do you think Arsenal showed more passion for Arsenal than Tottenham did for Tottenham, John?
I just think they were just outclassed, even with the missing players that we had on the bench or out injured. I think we were just different class. Alluding a little bit to what David said, it seemed like we were playing more of like a false 9 system, kind of a hybrid of that Barca version when they have all their midfielders out there and no actual striker. And, I thought Rosicki's playing himself into a contract. He's been unreal when he's had the opportunities given to him. But yeah, I don't think it was more what Tottenham did. I think it was just what we did was so exceptional that we made them look bang average, or more average than they have been.
And John mentioned there, Danny, about Rosicki. He's coming up to a contract renewal in the summer, isn't he? He's running to the end of his contract.
Certainly is.
So pretty much he is playing for a new contract. But from what I've seen of him this season, I think he's been absolutely a different class. Do you think he's worth maybe another couple of years in the summer?
Yeah, of course he is. I mean, a lot of people think that once you get into, he's 33 at the moment, and we signed him in 2006-7 for, I think, the best part of 7 or 8 million quid from Dortmund. And when he signed for Dortmund, he was their record ever signing for about 10 million pounds-ish, because they were rebuilding, and then the rebuilding didn't work, and they had to get rid of all their players. And that's why he's a legend over there for them. But people forget, although he's 33, he's had virtually 2 years out of the game. So that 2 years, he's got the age and wisdom of thinking a yard ahead of everyone else, because his vision when he plays the game is amazing. But then to the fact that he's had the 2 years out, so he still goes and goes, and he still play the entire game. And I think at the moment he's probably the fittest he's ever been, because the game the other day, he was just brilliant for the whole thing. And like Dave was saying on his the Arsenal show that he does, that he was voted the second best player. And there's a couple of things I wanted to say about Gnabry there. He had an 87% pass accuracy rate, which is just fantastic, and he even got a few tackles in. And it's really good, the fact that everyone's all going on about Januzaj, who scored 2 goals in one game, and that's all he's done. And Gnabry seems to be going under the radar a little bit, and he is the player. He looks just an absolutely fantastic winger, and he's only 18 years old. And when we had Raphael Honigstein on, he said he is the German FA are keeping an eye on him, and he said there's maybe a chance that he might get a call up for the World Cup, because with displays like that in such an important game for someone who's only 18 to play in that game, get man of the match, and just do so brilliantly is fantastic. But the other thing I wanted to say about the game that I noticed is, if you're playing Cazorla and Gnabry, who are both proper wingers who run down the wing and cross, what's the point in playing Theo, who has in his entire life scored 1 goal from a header? So I think that kind of cut Walcott out of the game. So at times it was almost like we were playing 4-5-0, because Walcott was running back and then trying to be on the right a bit, left a bit, swapping with Rosicki a little bit. It was all over the place. Not saying that Walcott did anything wrong, but I don't think he can play up front on his own like that, because he needs to. He's like the old days. You have Ian Wright and Alan Smith. Walcott would be the Ian Wright, and he's someone big to play off of.
So we've now talked about all the joyous things that happened and what a wonderful day it was. We must unfortunately now flip the coin and talk about the unhappy part of the day, which of course was Theo's injury. We understand, is it a cruciate knee ligament, Danny?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think John might know a little bit more about that. Oh, and Steve's just said it's 0-0 at half-time with the youths at Fulham. Didn't you, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure John will know. 'Cause John being the bodybuilder of us lot and had years of high-level sportsmanship, playing soccer ball or whatever they do. Oh, I've read you were a baseball legend. You're a baseball legend, me old China. Further than most of us got, apart from Dave.
Played pretty high level, but I did my knee in as well.
Oh,
so,
dear.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a cruciate ligament in his left knee. I just think he's wound up so tight, that anything that he does on that pace, slight off a step, and that's always a threat. It's horrible injury. Hopefully he'll make a speedy recovery and be ready for next year. To put a silver lining on a bad thing, though, I think we have the players in-house to cover that position. Gnabry, Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back. Obviously, I think we have to now definitely go into the market just to provide cover for them. But, just got to look at the bright side of the situation and not get into the doom and gloom part, because this is an injury he's going to have to battle back from, and we'll see how he does.
Did anyone else hear on Talk Sport that there was some physio person on there, and I can't remember the Italian player they mentioned, but they said he got injured halfway through the season, and then with a similar injury, and ended up coming back, missed the whole of the second half of the season for his Italian club, but then come back to play for Italy in the World Cup a few years ago, and I'm not sure what player that was, but then he played outstandingly in the World Cup. So he says there is still a chance for Walcott to come back. It all depends on how well the operation goes and how his rehabilitation goes. If the being out of the World Cup is not a certainty yet.
Yeah, I read that. It was something like he was out for 12. He was out for 12 weeks or something with it. It was something really amazingly short. Yeah.
Wasn't it the diagnosis they discovered is there's actually two muscles in the leg, and if they cure the other muscle at the same time as they're doing the main muscle that's actually broken, then it actually reduces rehabilitation time. If I read it correctly.
Well, it's ACL and MCL, but I'm not sure. Obviously. Oh.
I think they've discovered a new technique.
What was it they used? Some player was using some sort of fucking horse urine or some sort of magical ingredient and chucking them in ice tanks and fucking all that malarkey.
Pig semen.
That was ketamine.
That was a good night.
I think there is actually a new idea that if they do the operation a certain way, you can then rehabilitate the muscles really quickly, so that you get a lot of because with a cruciate injury, you cannot have the operation as a general person. You cannot have the operation and build your quads up so much that you don't need the operation. I had a friend who played rugby, did it actually playing football, didn't go for the operation, but he worked tirelessly in the gym, and then he played football a year later without the operation, and he carried on playing rugby. He's never had the operation, and he's completely healed. And I think they've combined that kind of thought process where you do the operation, but you do it in a way which you can then really, really still work the muscles and keep them really super strong. And that enables you to come back quicker, and then you can sort of integrate yourself into all your training at a much earlier stage, and then it just repairs itself. The rest of it repairs itself. I'm not sure about the sort of medical side of it. Obviously, depends on how bad your injury is, whether it's a complete anterior cruciate tear or not. I think it's ACL he's got. So if it's a complete tear, sometimes that's better because they stitch that back on. A partial tear means it's stitched in between where it attaches. So, there's loads of complications, but there is that like what you said, if it's a certain kind of injury, you can actually build the muscle up while you're rehabilitating from the operation. So you're sort of coming back twice as quick.
Is there any other Arsenal players from recent times that have had the same injuries that, for many that won't be familiar with this type, is it Robert Pires? Diaby's got it at the moment. Did Robert Pires have it as well, the injury that he suffered against Newcastle? Was that
It's the same injury,
ligament? Yeah, I thought so. So, if you all want to recall back to Robert Pires and the time he got injured against Newcastle and his spout on the sidelines, it's a very similar injury to that. And we'll go to you now, Steve. How much do you think we're actually going to miss Theo? Because he's only been back literally a month and a little bit. We've seen bursts of talent from him.
Daniel and I were talking about this earlier on in the week. And he's had quite a lot of injuries, Walcott, actually. He's one of the most injured players in the Premier League. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's pointless. But his last injury is abdominal strain. It was from the 22nd of September to the 21st, which is basically 2 months. And he missed 12 games. Now, during that time, we won 9 games. We drew 1 and we lost 3. Now, you look at that on the face value of it and say, if we obviously missed him. But if you actually look, during those games, Ozil scored 3 times, Giroud scored 3, Gnabry scored once, Ramsey scored 5, Icefield scored once, Mertesacker scored 1, Sanya, Arteta, Wilshere got 2, and Cazorla got 1. But the 3 games we lost were Borussia Dortmund at home, Chelsea at home, and Manchester United away. So, all 3 of those heavy-duty opponents. And it's not to say, even if Theo had been playing, that we actually would have got better results in those games. You just can't forecast that. But the fact is, at the end of the day, there's plenty of players who can play wide. Cazorla and Gnabry can step up. There's also the fact that we're in transfer window and we can go out and buy players. We know now that Giroud's probably going to be fit. We also know that it's very likely Benta might be fit shortly. And there's no reason why we couldn't go out and buy somebody. But I don't really think we need to. We've got Gnabry there, and he seems to be well up for the job in hand. So give the guy a chance. Let him step in and be like Manninger was years ago when one of the goalies got injured.
Okay, and we'll go to Gav. Do you think we're going to miss him?
I think we will. I mean, just purely on the way that sometimes we set a team up. I mean, obviously, I prefer to see Theo playing out on the right hand side of the pitch. I think that's his best position, cutting in from there. But he does give defences something else to think about because of how mobile and how fast he is. And a lot of defences and a lot of teams set up a little bit deeper, which gives the rest of our players a little bit more room. So that's the position really that we're going to miss him. And obviously, of course, I mean, 20 goals last year, and he was back for 5-6 games after his abdominal injury and scored 4 goals. So you can't knock what he brings to the team. The only good thing about, if there is a good thing about the timing, is hopefully Oxlade-Chamberlain getting through the under-21 game tonight. Because, like I say, he's another player that can sort of pick up the mantle, and perhaps between him and Gnabry, they can hold it down on the right-hand side of the pitch for the rest of the season.
Well, Oxlade-Chamberlain seems to be doing all right so far. They've just come out for the second half.
Yeah, has he come out for the second half as well, yeah?
Yeah, no, he's come out for the second half. He's just taken a few free kicks as well.
Okay, cool.
And he's also he's had a couple of shots on goal as well.
Excellent. No, like I say, I mean that's why I'm like I say, as much as I really do like Theo and I do really rate him as a player, but like I say, if with Gnabry and Chamberlain, we should have that side really pretty much covered. At a push, Ramsey can play there. At a push, Rosicky can play there. Yeah, we've got that side of things covered. Where we obviously lack is the striker. That's the position we're really lacking at the moment, and that's hopefully where the money should be concentrated on now.
I'll tell you what, Gav. I just want to come in on the back of that. I'm just looking at something on this Opta stuff that I got, which is interesting between like what you and John have just said. The fact that Theo's contributions, and you mentioned that he's got that pace, that ability, that's something that scares people. He's got in the games that he's played, he's had 13 games, 9 starts, and in those games he's had 17 shots on target, scored 5 goals, 171 minutes ago. You look at Mesut Ozil, who's played 15 games, and he's got 4 goals with only 14 shots on target. So, in comparison to the two players, just looking at stats, you've got to say I'd rather have Theo in the team. But then you scroll down and look at assists and chances created. You're looking at 45 chances Mesut Ozil has created for that team. So if you had Mesut Ozil playing in every game with Theo Walcott sliding those little balls in for him, that's what Arsenal potentially are going to lose with Theo not there. Because Mesut will be there creating them chances still, but he hasn't actually played enough with Theo to supply him with the goals because of what Theo's missed, and that's my worry of not having that pace. Your likes of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Gnabry like to get the ball slightly a bit deeper and run into with the ball, whereas Theo threatens the back of people. And I refer to something I saw Ian Wright on I don't refer to much he says, but he said something the other day about Theo's pace just on the shoulder of defenders absolutely scares them shitless. And that Kirikez, is it Kirikez of that team across not far from Arsenal, I can't remember what they're called.
The Scum.
That's the one. He actually on their average position, he was 10 yards deeper than any Tottenham defender, and Theo was standing next to him on the average position. And that just tells me he's absolutely shit scared.
Himself,
of that. And he was like stretching himself away from Dawson, and he was leaving him exposed. And it was just so obvious that he was so frightened about Theo's pace. and that's what we'll miss. That ability to stretch a team without actually doing anything, just by standing there, and people knowing your reputation, thinking he's got frightening pace. That's what we'll miss.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else that anybody wants to cover on Theo before we move on?
No,
I'm just wish him well, and hope he gets better.
Yeah,
definitely. I think
get well soon from all of us at a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast.
And I think the amount of medical expertise our club has, which is virtually second to none, if any player at any club is going to stand a chance of getting back for the end of the season, or more importantly for him, the World Cup, then I think he couldn't really be at a better club.
No, definitely. In our previous segment, we've talked about Theo missing the rest of the season and Bentner being out for a spell too. It's January and we're linked with a host of Spanish-based players. So let's go over to John and ask. We should have had a drum roll, shouldn't we? Yeah. What's a moving and a shaking in Espanya, John?
Well, this week we saw the saga of Tony Sanabria's potential move finally finish. He's going off to Roma. There was a bit of a dispute of how much he went for. It ended up being $3 million. What people have to understand is that there's a kind of a loophole in the workers' contractual issues here in Spain. Just to give you a little bit of a background, in La Masia, as what they call here a canterano, which is an academy player, they get about 250 to 300 euros a year until they're 16. Obviously, they get match day meals, room and board, education, that whole bit. But when they reach 16, they get they're not allowed to sign a contract. So that what they do is they sign them on a pre-contract, which is non-binding. And they usually get, there's three scales. They get 10,000, 12,000, or 15,000 per year on that contract. So to give you an idea, I think Toral and Beguerin were like on 150,000 per year when they moved at the same age. So, the salary differences are humongous between here and other leagues. But also, he seems like he was upset to sign the Barcelona B contract. He never did. His family rescinded it. So based on that pre-contract, the release clause was $3 million, which was similar to what Gerard Deulofeu had before he signed his first professional contract. So at the end of the day, he ended up going to Roma, snubbed us over playing time, it seems. Then obviously we're linked to Morata, Pedro as well. I don't see either of those happening. I mean, could they happen? Of course, anything can happen. But Morata's loan fee is going to be about 2 million euros. The door is open. Some people said that it was never open or that it was closed, or there was, they weren't going to risk letting him go because they had no backup for Benzema. But Hesse has been performing rather well in that position. I think it's more of a question whether that option is good for us more than is it good for the player. As far as Pedro's concerned, there was, Barcelona had qualms of moving him in the summer, him or Alexis Sanchez. But if you look at the last, they've played 18 matches. He's been involved in 17, started, I believe, 11, and he has 11 goals and five assists. I just don't see him moving. Being essential to that team, especially with the amount of injuries that they get to different players. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. So I just don't see Pedro moving. I don't see Morata moving. And then as far as the other players that we're linked with here in the Spanish media that I didn't see we were linked with in any other outlets were William Carvalho from Sporting Lisbon. And he's more of a defensive midfielder. Also Jorginho, which he's more of a forward, a player, attacking midfielder. He plays for Hellas Verona and Serie A. And also, and I'm going to fuck up this name, so I apologize ahead of time, Michy Batshuayi from Sporting Liege, which he's a striker. So those are names that I haven't heard anywhere else. And obviously you have the two other Peninsula players here, Jackson Martinez being one of them. And I can't say that I've seen a lot of Jackson at at Porto, but I saw him because obviously being Venezuelan, I took he plays for Colombia and a hell of a player. But are we going to pay that release clause, and is Porto going to let him go in the January window? In a little bit of for 2 seconds to take away a little bit from the transfer issues. Our favorite ex-defensive midfielder Song this week broke a record at Barca. He's went his first 30. He completed his first 30 appearances for the club. He's won 28 and drawn twice. Hasn't lost a single game that he's appeared in a Barca uniform, and that's a record for the club.
That's only because they bring him on when they're guaranteed to win because he's so shit.
Exactly. or when they play against weaker teams.
Exactly.
Hasn't stopped him dressing like some victim of a Blake 7 though during the week, I see.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, did you see that? That was a nice pair of boots. That I must get myself a pair of them.
I can just see you rocking up to do the commentary in those, and Adrian being aghast in silence.
Half the time he dresses like he's been stood in the middle of a Jippo camp and there's been a hurricane.
It fitted him. It don't even fit him. It's like his shirt's too long. The colour doesn't suit his eyes. It's just all wrong.
If a woman wore that to work, you'd swear she was pregnant, wouldn't you? It's maternity wear for men.
His shoes as well. That was the thing that got me. I mean, who wants boots that do up to the knee? And then have the tongue flapping out. Oh, it was all wrong. I had to tweet something about it as well. I must say, I tried to be sort of, not too. What's the word? I didn't want to slag him off too much, but he looked shit.
Can I just say something to John? Before the podcast, we were going through all the players you were talking about. You accidentally said that Batshuayi is at Sporting Lisbon. He's at Standard Liège before anyone tweets you to let you know.
I said he was. Did I say Sporting Lisbon?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, that's the William Carvalho.
Yeah. Just before, people on Twitter are like, they're going to try and have you for that.
William Carvalho is from Sporting Lisbon. Michy Batshuayi is from Standard Liège.
I'm glad you said that because there's no way I could. What's going on with a player that we've been linked to a few times in the past, Affilay at Barcelona? He hasn't played all season. Is he injured?
He's. I thought that they had sent him out on loan, to be honest.
No, I mean, last season he was at Schalke on loan for half the season. It says this season, got into Soccerway, he's still at Barcelona, hasn't played a single game.
Yeah, well, I know he was injured for. He moved in the January transfer window. He was injured, then went out on loan, but I thought he was injured again. I thought he was out on loan again.
I'm just looking at Wikipedia. It also says 12-13, only at Schalke, 10 games, 2 goals. But look at Holland. He's 27 now, but 44 games, 5 goals. But he's yet another winger that we don't really need.
Remember when RVP was petitioning and making a suggestion to bring him over, if you remember, before he went over to Barcelona?
Yeah, I mean, at one season, I remember at PSV, I think they might have won the league that season. I thought he must have got about 10, 15 goals that season. But I always wondered why he went to Barcelona because they never use him. I mean,
honestly, I haven't heard anything about him. Most of the controversies here have been, what's going on with Alexis Sanchez, the opportunities he gets. Pedro made a big stink at the beginning of the year about getting more match time and that sort of thing. That's kind of what set those rumors in motion. But really, I mean, if you have a fit Pedro, Messi, Alexis Sanchez, Neymar, I mean, there's no room for a Cuenca or Theo or or an Affilay, even though Cuenca's gone already. But, Theo and Affilay really are, on the outside looking in.
Another quick question for you. We all know that every time Barcelona and Real Madrid get in a bit of financial shtuck, the local government help them out, don't they? Whether they buy their training ground off them or something like that.
Local governments, the banks as well. That sort of thing. Yeah.
So why haven't the government helped out Barcelona and Real Madrid by changing the laws for their young players so they can't keep getting nicked for fuck all money?
Well, it's more of a compensation issue as far as, if you change it for the football players, you're going to have to change it for everybody. And they're looking more, they want to keep that contracts to legal adults.
Yeah, so. I suppose I didn't think about that. But then again, because you have to change it for the entire country. Unless they
Exactly.
make one just for
Haven't they-
football.
Haven't they got to come under the EU regulations that everybody else comes under?
No, they're Spain. They make it up as they go along.
Yeah,
There's loopholes here for practically everything. And
if in
if
doubt,
you
go
look
for a nap.
Haven't you got a load of stuff to run through, Gav?
No, well, I was going to run through a few players we've been linked with, but John very kindly listed them all off.
Did he?
So
Yeah, he did.
I was
He
busy
was,
typing.
yeah, no, there is a couple that he missed. If I might as well. Now you pulled me into it.
Sorry if we want to go back to sleep.
no,
No,
hold
it's
on,
all right.
hold on. Before we do,
Go
I
on,
know Steve has got something to say on the transfer stuff, and then we'll go to you for the list of players, Gav, if that's all right.
Go on, go for it.
And an update of the score.
All right, it's still 0-0 and it's the 59th minute, and Ox was taken off fully fit on the 48th minute, so that's all very good, and he had a good game by the look of it. On the subject of Spanish clubs, obviously every country's labour law is up to them to set, but it just has to agree with European Commission and European Union labour accords, and if it offers better than that, then there's nothing wrong with it. As regards to Danny's comment about shouldn't these Spanish clubs be referred to European Union for illegal competition, spookily there have been. A very nice lady called Neelie Kroes, who is the European Commission Commissioner for Unfair Competition, is looking into Real Madrid and Barcelona and Valencia at the moment for unfair tax advantages and unfair state support.
About fucking time.
And very likely that complaint came from Britain, I suspect.
And what will happen with that, John? Will they be told to fuck off?
I want to see the government here trying to tell Barcelona and Real Madrid what to do. That's not. I mean, it's just you got to remember they're owned by the citizens. This is not an ownership by by one person. The presidents are elected. It's all very, democratic, and it's not down to one owner per se.
Which kind of explains why they bought Bale for so much money, because when the presidents are up for election, they go, yeah, I will get Jesus to play for us. They go, oh, fucking hell, they voted me and now I've got to go and get someone. They just say whatever they want to try and get elected, don't they?
In this instance, though, it doesn't really matter, because if the EU decide that Spain's given those companies, as the EU looks at them, an unfair tax advantage, Spain will get fined and some of those companies get punished by the European Union. It's not down to the Spanish government. And, yeah, Real Madrid and Barcelona and Valencia can appeal against it, but it's very unlikely they'll win. If you've got companies like Google and Microsoft paying up, I would rather suggest they will as well. And the law will be changed, and that'll be it. Anyway, moving on.
Well,
Okay,
really,
Gav.
more for me, it's more about the player, though. I mean, you look at these kids; they can go and sign a contract in other countries and get 150, 200,000 a year, and they get 10,000 per year here, or they get 250 euros a year as an allowance. I mean, it's ridiculous too.
Yeah, Arsenal just scored against Fulham, Icefield, 59th minute.
Oh, yeah.
That's in. On
1-0.
that note, we'll go to Gav. If you want to give us the list of all the players you've got.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, I know John rambled through a few earlier. The main ones really that have been linked for the last week or so, really. Diego Costa, a rumoured 32 million bid from Atletico Madrid. Eduardo, back again, 8 million from Shakhtar. Morata, a loan stroke or 15 million from Real Madrid. Jackson Martinez, reported £30 million from Porto. Pedro, 25 million from Barcelona. And Kalu again, anything that we want to pay him because his fucking agent wants him to play for Arsenal. And that's a reported 2 million from Lille. Like I say, not sure what is believable and what's not believable about any of that really, because we tend to keep things pretty quiet. But is there anyone on that list there, David, that you'd fancy at Arsenal?
Well, I think Spanish players at the moment are very en vogue. Let's face it, Spanish and South American. You got your Suarez's, your Agueros in this league, all performing, and that only will motivate your fellow countrymen to come to this country, get the big money, and use their style of play. They're tough players. They're technically good, and if anyone playing, I think Morata playing as well as he is at the moment, probably having one of his best seasons ever. If you can get someone at the height of their performance level at this time would be a bonus. With regards to the others, I mean, Kalu, I think that's just agents trying to push players, to get places, like you said. But I think your Brazilians or your South Americans or your Spanish style players, one of those would fit into our system brilliantly. We don't need an out and out big massive centre forward. I mean, Dzeko was mentioned a few weeks ago, but he's not coming into play now. I don't know whether he's going to be. He's obviously featuring in Man City. Played against West Ham yesterday. He did pretty well, got his goal and stuff. But I think we need to go with the mobile, strong player, and I'd like to see out of all of those, either Diego Costa or Morata come to the club. I think they benefit the team tremendously.
Dave?
Yeah.
As a player, what role does having someone from your country at a club that you're thinking of going to, or your agent's trying to push you to, play in the decision making? I mean, say for example, you're a Dortmund player and Moyes is looking at you, and will that player ring Kagawa and ask him what it's like there? And Kagawa says, "Oh, it's hideous. I've been ruined here." I mean, does a lot of that go on? I mean, and does that play a big part in whether the deal goes through or not?
I think partly it does, but I think all players, if I'm totally honest, have their own agenda, and they look at it on a financial basis, their family situation. If it's a single player coming over without any attachments, without wife and kids, it might be a completely different story to someone coming over bringing his missus and 2 children. Then he will ask friends and people alike in that area what it's like to bring his kids up in, because he's got the option of earning that money anywhere in the world, and he's got more responsibilities. So there's loads of different things that are involved in it. But I think personally it comes down to your own personal agenda, what you want to get out of it, and what you can see your future, doing better. And if you can go to a club, maybe if you've got one mate there who's in the same situation as you, who you can attach yourself to, get used to the area, get used to the people, the style of living, get little tips on even down to what the food's like. We had people come to Arsenal way back in the day, and like the likes of Paul Lederson, who come from Norway. I remember him coming and saying that it took him 6 months to get used to the food, because they was used to eating raw fish and shit like that. And puffing and whatever he was used to eating, I don't know. But
that might explain his performances, mate. If he was puffing.
Hello, Norway, if you're listening.
Yeah, but it's all it is a bit relevant. But I think at the end of the day, all the sort of add-ons, and the clubs make you feel at home anyway. They're going to put everything in place. They'll let you bring over 2 or 3 your family and probably pay for them if you're going to a top club, just to make you feel at home. So I don't know if it has that big a difference, but if you've got 1 or 2 teammates in the same situation, you will attach yourself to them and definitely take heed of what they say, for sure. Yeah.
Did you ever have a chance to go abroad? And I don't mean Scotland.
Well, Aberdeen.
Yeah. That trial.
Oh, that was great. No, I didn't. Do you know what? I played my career like I lived my life. I'm totally honest, and I was like, thank you. Yeah, that'll do, mate. I never argued a contract. I never went in. If they said it was 1,500 quid a week, I said, yeah, thanks very much, that's fine. And then the next lad went in and went, no, I'm not happy with 1,500. I want 3 grand. Then I was like, shit, why didn't I say that? But I was always blessed and privileged to be what I was doing rather than robbing. So
was there any other offers for you while you were at Arsenal that you were aware of, or wouldn't George Graham tell you?
Not that I was aware of. There was a few clubs. I mean, I think Middlesbrough were interested at the time. I heard even when I was at Portsmouth, Borough were interested in me. Bruce Rioch, when he came to Arsenal, told me he wanted to take me to Bolton at the time.
It'll take you 6 months to get used to the food up there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And the accent.
Yeah, they don't have pie and mash. That would have killed me.
They have it with gravy.
Oh no, you can't have it with gravy. It's got to be liquor.
It's got to be liquor.
That's
Gravy.
nothing away. But there was a couple, but nothing abroad. No, I'm homeboy. You know.
So if you'd have had an offer, because a couple of our players, like Graham Ricks, went to play for the mighty Caen in France, and then we had a few others went and played over in France. Would you have gone to somewhere like France? It was quite close, or would you have just gone, nah, can't be bothered?
Well, I kind of knew the limitations of my ability, shall we say, and although I always fancied I was a decent passer of the ball. You know, I could make a decent long pass, but I was a grafter, and I was a water carrier, a piano carrier, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think I'd have been confident, if I'm totally honest, going to one of these more technical places. I was happy with the English game and the way the English game was played, and I could play that game well in my position. So if I'd have had an option of going to France for the same money as going to a shitty place up north, I'd have took up north all day long. I'm an England boy. I want to stay on this island. You know, I'm happy here.
I can hear Steve weep with pride. Go on then, Gav. You've got some stuff to go through, ain't you?
Yeah, no, like I say, another few players. Draxler. Gimli, over to you.
Yeah, from the reports coming out of the media, and it's pretty much across the board with that, so it would seem like it's fairly true that Draxler has been shown around the Emirates or London Colney this week. From reports, it also says that Mesut Ozil is helping by talking to the player and speaking only good things about Arsenal, and he seems willing to sign, and we're in pole position for him. So let's hope that comes off, as Draxler is an extremely good player. But can any of us see where he's going to slot into the squad?
John?
I mean, I think it's really tough, isn't it? He's a winger more than anything else. He's not going to play through the middle. We got Ramsey, Ozil, Wilshere. We're on the left. We have, any combinations of, Cazorla, Podolski. On the right, we have, Theo when he comes back, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, Gnabry slots in there somewhere as well. Do we really need to spend 35, 40 million on another similar player that we currently have, or do we go ahead and spend that money on a striker?
I mean, would he be one of these players that Wenger would transform from being a winger into a centre forward, much the same as he did with Mr. Henry?
I mean, obviously, that
John,
could be an option.
either of you?
Yeah, I think it could be an option. I've always been a proponent of trying to play a false nine system. I think that suits the type of players that we often are attracted to.
He's got a hatful of goals, hasn't he, for Schalke this season, and he's been having quite a good season under there from what I've seen. So let's hope that maybe he can slot into the squad, or maybe, like Gav said, do a Thierry Henry on him and turn him into a striker.
Are we still talking about Draxler?
Yeah, I will say
hatful of goals.
Yeah.
1.
Really?
I told you this in the WhatsApp group, you big toed hairy freak.
Did you do it over that voicey speaky thing where you claim that you're touching yourself every time?
Yeah, he's got a hat load of assists, I said, not goals. He's played, this is from memory, 15 games in Bundesliga. He has started 11 on the left wing, 2 as central as attacking midfielder, and 1 on the right wing. What's that? That's 14 games. He's got 1 goal, but he's got 5 assists. He's had 1 game with 2 assists, another with 2 assists, and then another with just 1 assist. And he's left-footed as well. But
hasn't he been doing well in the Champions League? I swear I've seen him score a couple of goals in the Champions League this year.
Well, you can talk amongst yourselves, and I shall go and have a look, because that was all from memory. Because I remember looking in it the other day. What player are we talking about again? Because I forgot. Oh, Draxler.
Yeah. Okay. 72% mini cheddar. We'll go back to Gav.
Right. Okay. Another player, like I mentioned earlier, Steve, Eduardo. Any joy, do you reckon, on him coming back? Do you think there's any mileage in that at all?
This is for FK because he really wants it.
I prefer him over Berbatov, definitely.
I just, Eduardo, when he first came to England, was a lethal finisher and a great player. But I think that injury finished him in the Premier League. And I think if there was any chance he could have come good again, I don't think Wenger would have let him go. I think Wenger let him go for a reason. And I don't think Eduardo can come back. And I think it's FK's letting his heart rule his head, as he does most times when he's out pissed up. And you know, you've got to let go of the past. Arsenal's got to move on. I just don't see him being able to play up front against very physical defenders. I think he lost his confidence in his bottle, and where he is now is probably a better place for him to be than in the Premier League.
You were right, Gim. In the Champions League, Draxler has 4 goals in 8 games.
See,
There you go,
I knew I wasn't losing my marbles.
A little bit about Eduardo, if I can. Shakhtar Donetsk are currently 5 points clear at the top of the Ukrainian league, ahead of Dynamo Kiev. And even in a team that seems to be running away with the league, Eduardo has got 4 goals in 13 games. Last season, 4 in 20. Season before that, 5 in 16. Before that, it was 6 in 22. But like Steve was just saying, the season before he joined us, 34 goals in 32 games. And now he's getting, I mean, he's 30. He's 30 at the moment. He's 31 in the 25th of January. So, nope, not a chance.
See, that's what scares me about Diego Costa. From what I've heard about him, he's hardly been prolific in previous seasons.
Ask John. John knows all about him.
Well, I didn't mention Costa for the simple fact that I just don't. It's not going to happen. I mean, let's be clear. In the summer, anything can happen. During the January window, that's not going to happen. But Diego Costa has 19 goals in 18 matches this year. But if you look prior to this, he never had more than 10 goals in a season. And we're talking second division football in Spain. And, on loan, and where he was the main guy. Everybody's talking about, the reason he hasn't performed was because he was behind Aguero, he was behind Falcao, and this is his first chance as being the main striker. But it's not. When he went out on loan, he was the main striker, and never more than 10 goals. I think spending 40 million euros on a person that's been doing it for 5 months is risky at best.
If people want to know, last season for Atletico Madrid, 10 goals in 31 games. On loan at Rayo Vallecano before that, 10 in 16. And then the season in 2010-11 at Madrid, he had 6 in 28. And then Rayo Vallecano did again, 8 in 34. And the season before that, he was in the Segunda Division, 10 goals in 35 games. And that was only 4 seasons ago. So there you go. It's,
but Dan, I've got to jump in there as well. You've got to say that he's actually improving over the last 3 seasons. So what's to say next season he don't get 25 goals?
But a £35 million, do you think that's a bit of a risk?
I don't know. I just think going back to my point about them sort of players being very en vogue at the moment and being, looking at their fellow countrymen and thinking my style of play is really coming into the fore now, and players like it gives you confidence as a player. If I was playing back in the day when it was about sort of tackling and winning the ball and scrumming it out, and other players around me and other teams were doing well and getting on, playing their game, which was a similar style to me, that would have inspired me to be better.
I'll tell you what
was coming into it, and I just think that he could be. 35 million is nothing nowadays. Come on, do you know what I mean?
Money.
Just spend the money. We got it. Just spend it and get a decent player. Let's make a statement of intent and say, look, he's a player at the top of his form. I want to go and get him, and I want to make him even better. And if anyone can make him better, it's going to be Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger will improve his fitness and his strength and his athleticism, and putting him in a team like that with all those mobile players and saying all you've got to do is go and just beast it up front. I just think he'd be a great player for us. Go back to get him.
The one thing about Costa is he is a nasty fucker. He's a bit of a cunt.
That's what we need, mate.
But the downside to that is, he just extended his deal at Atletico to 2018. So,
it's going to make it difficult.
Yeah, the price might. He just extended this August or September. But I'm not saying that he will not continue to improve or will not continue to put up these type of numbers. The thing is that there's not a long period of consistency to come in this January and say, okay, let's go ahead and do the 35-40 million deal. Like I said, next summer, anything's viable. When the summer times come, anything can happen. I mean, before the summer, would you have said that we were going to sign Ozil? No. So, anything can happen during the summer. I just don't see it happening now.
I agree with what you're saying. I think you, but you got to speculate to accumulate, and you're better off buying something when it's on the way up.
True, very true.
How's he scoring his goals? Not in the air, is he?
I mean, honestly, he's a bit of a poacher. He's just at the right place at the right time. He works his ass off. He gets stuck in, and like I said, he's nasty. He's a nasty player.
He looks like he's 45 and worked in a mine all his life.
He's a nasty player.
He looks like he can graft. That's what I like about him. And the fact that he says he's 186 centimeters. What's that? That's 6 foot, 6'1".
6'3".
Is it 6'3"?
Yeah.
Is it? Well, he's 6'3" and 78 kilos. I can't believe that.
It says 85 kilos here.
He looks like Eduardo, a version of Eduardo. He has the Hulk.
Eduardo on steroids.
This is his passport I'm looking at. This is his passport, so he's obviously lied on that.
So who would you compare, Dave? Who would you compare him to as a current Premier League or recent Premier League striker? In his style and his ability on. Is he a bit Suarez-y, or isn't he that much finesse?
I don't know, maybe he might be a bit Dzeko, just with an edge.
Exactly.
A nasty Dzeko. He's got the technical ability. He's that height. If he's saying as slim as he is, then he's going to be that sort of rangy, sort of tallish player. But he's definitely got an edge. He's a Brazilian. He will know what it's like to be brought up the hard way, and what it's like to fight for things, and what it's like to chase a dollar. And that's obviously what he's going to do for as long as he can. So I don't think it's a bad thing getting someone who wants the money and wants to graft and wants to work for it, because sometimes they understand it a bit more and it means a bit more to them.
Quick question for you, Dave, because I know you've got to shoot off soon and we're going into our Twitter questions and Facebook questions. But as everybody will know, this is, the closest we've come to winning anything or the league, I should say, by a long, long time. We're now at a point where we've got no real striking options other than Giroud up front, and quite clearly the supporters feel that we have to go out and buy someone in a striking position. If Arsene Wenger doesn't, or goes out and buys cheap, I mean Solomon Kalou kind of cheap, and we don't go on and we don't go on to win the league, I mean, do you think that there's going to be a lynch mob out for Arsene Wenger, or do you think, oh, well, maybe next year we'll go out and buy someone good in the summer and give it another go?
I'd like to think there's not going to be anyone out with a lynch mob for Arsene Wenger, because, I'm a Wenger-lite. I think he's done brilliant for the club. Is that a new word? I'm not sure.
Well, of course you are. You've got a contract with the club.
Well, no, I haven't got a contract, but I just think, I look back to if I was a player and I'd actually had the luxury to play under him, he would have made my career better. And I think he has done that for most of the players that he's had. And you look at all the top players that leave Arsenal, they all come back. They all want to. That takes him back to the Rosicki. That's why he wants to sign a new contract. He wants to finish at Arsenal. He don't want to leave and then think, oh, I wish I'd have stayed there. He wants to stay there to the end. So I'd like to think that a lynch mob wouldn't come out. I'd also like to think that if we didn't sign a striker, he has got the ability to use that team with a full striker role and play loads of midfield players. And I think we'll get the same results. Teams will find it difficult, to play against us in the midfield. And if we can dominate games in the midfield, we will win games. We went to Man City and, it was end-to-end swings and, it was flowing backwards and forwards. And I've spoke to Man City fans who said probably one of the best games they've ever seen from a footballing spectacle. It was just unfortunate that Arsenal couldn't put away as many chances as City did at that time, and that's what caused the result. But I think you'll win more games than you'll lose playing like that. And at the end of the day, Arsenal were the only team in the Premier League not to have played the team at the top of the league halfway through. And that's because Arsenal have been at the top of the league all the year. So they've only got to do that for another 4 months, and it'll be happy days all round. But I don't think there'll be a lynch mob out for him. I don't think he's even worried about that. I've seen him around the club, and he's very much part of the club. I've heard rumours about what's going to happen in a few years. I won't say it on the podcast now. I'll save that for 2 years' time, because Ladbrokes might be having a word with me after I've put out a few tips. But I think there's some interesting things ahead for Arsenal in the next few years, and I know for a fact what I've heard from people around the club and certain sources that Arsenal will be there for the next 3 years for the term of his contract. So there's no fear about him leaving.
Arsene joined in November '96. What time in the end of '96 did you leave? And do you think that if he would have, was he there when you left? He wasn't, was he?
He was there. He came in the summer, or just before the summer. I think we played.
No, he came in November '96. His first game was Blackburn.
Yeah, his first game legitimately was then as a manager, but he came in our European game before the end of the previous season. I think we played. Was it Mönchengladbach?
Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Did we play someone? I think we might have played them, and that was his. He came.
Did we lose 3-2?
Yeah, he actually came to the dressing room. He came into the dressing room before the game, and it was interesting because he introduced himself to the players and all of that, and he said, "I'm going to be the manager when I leave next year during the summer. I'm going to come to you." We already had Patrick Vieira at the club.
Remy Gard.
Yeah, they'd already come in. They was all part of his new regime, although Patrick came with an injury. And so he'd already started impressing his thing on it, his style on the club. And then just as he came, I probably did 2 or 3 training sessions, and then I was moved. Well, I got the offer from Portsmouth. I still had a contract at Arsenal, but stupidly I went to Portsmouth. And if I never say if, buts, or maybes, or have any regrets about anything I've done in my life, because I think they make you what you are. You know, from the good, the bad, and the ugly, it makes you what you are. And I'm happy with where I am and who I am now. But if one thing I could have changed, I would have loved to have had a couple of seasons under him just to have his influence on me, because I'd never had that sort of influence from all the good managers I'd had before. I'd never had what he could have given me, and I think he could have prolonged and brought the best out of me. But
I was going to say, do you think he could have got a couple more years out of you?
I think he could have got a couple more years. He could have got a different style out of me. He could have encouraged me to play a different way.
Because he liked hard workers.
Yeah, but better than other managers had. You know, Bruce Rioch was a tosser. You know, I ain't worried about saying that. He was all about. He was me all the time. It was all about what he'd done as a player. And George Graham was brilliant. Stuart Houston was excellent as well. He was fine. But when we needed a change, they brought Bruce in. And to be fair, it died for me then when he came to the club. And I just wish I'd given myself a chance and said, you know what, I'll see out the next 6-7 months I got my contract. I'll go on a free at the end of that. And if I'd have gone on a free, I'd have probably picked up 3 times as much money. Do you know what I mean? But I just took the opportunity of playing football there and then for Pompey, which I had a great time down there. I don't regret that. That was a good time. But I just wish I'd given myself a chance with Arsene Wenger, because he changed the face of football for me in this country.
I'm just looking at the stats now, and your last game, you come off the bench as we beat Leicester 2-0. Went out to Leicester. You played in the first game of the season. West Ham you didn't. Then you played against Liverpool and Leicester in the Premier League, and then that was it. But you'd played all pre-season, most of the pre-season games, because I went a couple of games up in Scotland.
Yeah,
I think against Rangers. You played against Celtic, and then off to Fiorentina. I think you played against Fiorentina and then Benfica, and then I think you played in. Just looking here, you played in the last pre-season of the game, which was against Northampton. I'm just looking at our mate Andy, who does the history stuff. He's got a website of every single friendly result and stat. Yeah, and so your last game would have been the 24th of August '96, and I think within a couple of months later he was announced and took over. Yeah, because the Mönchengladbach game was the beginning of October, and then the second leg was.
That's what it was then. Yeah, that's what it was. The Mönchengladbach game. He came in. I was actually in the dressing room with the lads in that game, and it was the first. It was interesting because it was the first game when I'd seen he actually came in, and all the players had this little were given a little vitamin supplement before the game.
Yeah.
And it was part of his, this is going to make you feel better for after the game, and it was all about your regeneration of energy and putting things back into your body before the game had even started. And before it was just like, eat pasta, drink water, But now they started coming with this much more sort of knowledgeable thing, and now he's going to make players recover better and and help play. And it was just wish I'd given myself a chance. But you know, it's gone now. I'm an old man.
Still younger than some of us.
You can still kick Gav's ass.
Boy, mate, I tell you, he'd kick all of our arse. Do you know what I mean? There's no doubts about that.
I'll kick
And,
ass.
and if he didn't, his old man would.
I'm sure he'd have a good go if you mentioned that bag story again.
I'd probably kick the old man's ass nowadays.
Do you reckon he'll do him now?
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing a little bit. And I'm looking after himself. I'm fit at the moment, mate.
So, Dave, did you? I understand you want to shoot off.
Yeah, I've got probably about 3 or 4 minutes, mate, before I've got to make the move.
Okie dokie. We'll go straight over.
Past 9.
Sorry, I know we're keeping you late. Sorry, we do talk a bit on this. But we'll go straight over to Steve then quickly. And I know, Danny, you've got a few questions too.
Yep.
So do you want to start us off, Dan? Steve, sorry.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions for Dave here, actually. One's from Jason Davis, and it says, which player did you enjoy kicking the most? And the second question's here from Lewis Darling, said, if you'd have been on the stretcher like Theo was, would you have given it to Spurs fans 10 times more than Theo, or what he did was enough?
Well, I'll answer the second question first, because I know exactly what I'd have done on the bench. I'd have given him the 2 sign, but I don't think I'd have put the 0 up. So it would have looked a lot worse. So I'd have probably got in trouble. And Gordon Strachan would have probably given me some stick on match of the day, whatever it is he was on. I can't believe what they said about him as well. And, you know, even my old mate Martin Allen with that dodgy cardigan on.
Oh, dear.
Or dodgy tank top, whatever it was. I don't know.
Mad Dog.
Yeah, I don't know what Mad Dog was doing then. But he's always been like that. I think Theo was 100% right doing the 2-0. But I would have definitely just done the 2 and turned the hand around the other way. And I can't. What was your other question?
Who did you enjoy kicking the most?
I must have. I had a little. I don't know if it was really at Arsenal, but there was a player called Hendry who played for Oldham, and we had a lot of history. And I had history with him at Arsenal, and when Arsenal played Oldham a couple of times, and I hated him with a passion. And if I saw him now, I'd kick him. But when I went to Portsmouth, our first game was away. My first away game was Portsmouth at Oldham.
Was it Lee Hendry, the one who had one game for England?
Lee Hendry, that's it.
He's still playing now.
Is he? Well, I got sent off in my debut for Portsmouth away because I just couldn't resist. The first 5 minutes, I went into a tackle and he stamped on me, and I just got up and lost the plot. But yeah, he was probably the most. A lot of them were hard to catch in the Premier and the First Division. They was too good.
He was known for being a bit nippy.
Yeah,
Lee Hendry's not a bit nippy now. According to the Daily Mirror, he's hit rock bottom and lost 10 million quid.
I don't think it was Lee Hendry. No, his name weren't Lee, because wasn't Lee Hendry who played for Aston Villa.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant.
No. Lee, it was Hendry who played for.
Was it the big centre back, Colin Hendry?
Oldham. No, he played for Oldham.
Oh.
Back in, obviously, it would have been
John Hendry.
Answers on a postcard, please,
Hendry.
listeners, if you get it right.
Hendry. I don't care what his first name is.
Nick Henry?
Yeah. Nick, that rings a bell.
Oh, yeah, he played for Oldham between 87 and 97, midfielder, and he was a scouser.
Nick the Knob Hendry. Yeah, and he'd get it now. He'd massively get it. Even if I saw him down the street and I was with my kids, I'd still have to do it.
You still kick him?
I'd do worse.
I've got a question for you. This one is, there was 2 here. I think the best one to say, if you could be any player on the Arsenal roster right now, who would it be? And that is from at US_of_AFC. So there you go. Who could you be any player on the Arsenal roster now?
If I could be any player, that's a tough one, because I've always wanted to be a really good player. but I'd have to. I mean, technically that way, but I'd have to say Flamini, because he's gone away, he left as a great player, and he's come back, and he's come back and he's reinstated himself as an important part of the side for what he does, and because of the way he plays his game. So if it was on, if I was reflecting on a player I used to be, it would be him. If it was a player I'd want to be, I wouldn't mind being Santi Cazorla because he's got such sweet feet. I've always wanted to be able to do that.
On the dance floor.
Yeah, all them little turns and stuff.
Another quick question for Dave is, it's Chris Carpenter's asked, of all the young players that were at the club when you were there, who did you rate the highest? And was there somebody who didn't make it at Arsenal that you thought should have?
Definitely, there is one player that stands out a country mile amongst all the players I've played with, was Mark Flats. He was a young black lad from, I think he was from North London. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was Wood Green, somewhere like that, somewhere that sort of area.
I remember him.
And you know what? You couldn't get near him in training. He used to glide, and if you did manage to get near him, you'd whack him up in the air, and he'd just float down like a feather and land on his feet with the ball at his feet. And he could just glide everywhere. He was a fantastic player, but I suppose if you haven't got everything, you can't be the player. And there were certain bits of his game missing, whether it was attitude, I don't know, whether it was commitment, whether it was application. I can't be 100% sure, but for me, he was a fantastic, lovely footballer, and he should have done a lot better than he did.
If anyone knows where Mark Flats is, let me know, because he's one of the people that I'm doing a biography of every single player who's played for Arsenal on loan or even trials for my website, and he's one of the ones I'd like to do because even Wikipedia knows nothing about him.
I was with him, Dan. I was with him.
When?
At the Barnet game.
Oh, well, try and get him to give him my email address or something, and I'd like to do a bio of him.
I know Matty Joseph is a good friend of his.
Yeah.
Was at Arsenal and was at Cambridge and that. I'll see what I can do for you, mate.
Oh, that'd be lovely. And I've got a final question from our good mate AFC Glenn, which I think I'm going to ask everyone else later. Hello, Glenn. What will you accept as success this season from this position we're in now?
A trophy in either of the three, in any of the three we're in. I think we owe it to ourselves to and the fans to put something on the table. It will be tough for it to be a Premier League because there's some good challenges in there with very strong squads, and not knowing what we're going to do in the January window obviously would affect my decision on whether I think we can actually go all the way and do it. It's going to be a tough season. I think we've potentially got it, but it's going to be tough for the lads, and they've got to dig deep. So I think definitely silverware, and without a shadow of a doubt, again in Europe in the Champions League next year. But I think mainly what we've got to do is really give confidence, because if we don't quite achieve it this year, we've got to be closer than we was last year. Just scraping into fourth place with that big effort in the last 10 games is not acceptable. I think we need to be going into the last 5 or 6 games certain of Europe, and then a chance of winning the league.
Oh, there you go then. Right. Do you need to go now?
It would be helpful because otherwise stand that side on our own.
Go on then, Gim, wrap him up.
Okay, so we'd like to thank you, Dave, for joining us tonight.
It's always a pleasure, Gim. I'll come on, and like I said, I'll try and endeavour to come on every few weeks and talk a load of bollocks and goonerish with all of the Gooner fans.
Yeah, I know the people that listen to this podcast, most of them say that the most enjoyable ones they've listened to have actually been with you on. They like hearing the stories about what went on in the dressing room and, Arsenal of old and the talk about then. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you join us.
It's always good to be on. Some good blokes tonight, and I've enjoyed all of your companies, and I'll see you.
Well,
Dave. Look after yourself, mate.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, before you go, what do you think of Tottenham?
Hold on, I'm just going to put the iPad to my arse and fart, all right?
Splendid fellow.
Lovely
There you
exit.
go. All right, no worries.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, Dave. Take care.
When I said lovely exit, I didn't mean his exit of showing on the iPad.
No, top fellas, David. Top fella.
While we're talking about those questions, does anyone want to say what player would they like to be on the Arsenal roster right now? Or anyone want to say what's acceptable position this season?
I want to be Nick Bentner.
Or you can go around Gav's house and smack him up.
Lovely hair.
To be fair, Gimli, you're already a cunt, so you're halfway there.
Oh! Do you know something? There'll be people
Back at
that was just a wonderful moment. A wonderful moment.
Come on, answer the fucking question. Who would you want to be?
Yeah, Nick Bentner.
Oh well, this didn't get as much response as I thought.
I'd be Carl Jenkinson.
Why?
Shit.
Fucking why? What do you fucking mean why? Because he's a fucking. Do you know what I mean? He's
underachiever.
No.
Don't.
Wait, you can't keep it shut. No, simply because he's at least third generation Arsenal supporter. He's made his granddad, well, looking down happy. He's making his dad happy. He tries his best and puts his heart into every single game. He's not the most talented, but I think he definitely puts all the effort in. So I'll be him just simply because he's living the dream, mate. He's an Arsenal supporter playing for the team. So the only other one that we've got really like that is Kieran Gibbs. But I wouldn't want to be Gibbs because he's injured all the time. So I'd be Jenkinson.
Oh, I think I'd be Viviano fucking back off to Italy. I'm not sure. I've read that his loan is up, which has been cancelled.
Well, because he sits there and does fuck all the time.
No, he's in Italy and it's nice and warm.
It's pretty much
now.
like Danny's day-to-day life.
They don't have many cheddars in Italy, Danny. You know.
Do they not? Fuck
No,
it.
mate.
I'll be
Fuck 'em.
Steve, who would you be?
I'd like to be Vic Akers, actually. Right.
Is that because he's got lots of hair?
No, it's just because he wanders around in shorts and gets to sit on the touchline and watch Arsenal all the time and go everywhere with them. And, you know, I wasn't a bad player when I was younger, but I wouldn't have even got in infield's fucking reserves, let alone Arsenal. No, I'd like to be Vic Akers, you know, carrying a few bibs around, sitting there making a few jokes, giving a bit of stick out and getting to watch the Arsenal for free. Splendid.
Danny,
John?
who's the girls' coach?
Fuck knows, that changes every half hour. Do you really want to know?
Yeah, well, whoever it is, I'll be them. Just as long as they get to go in the changing rooms after the game.
You didn't ask me the question. I want to be Vic Akers because I want to watch the ladies' team's kits, but that's another story.
We'll have no sexism on here, thank you very much, ladies.
Oh, that's bloody disgusting.
It's someone called Esker, who is Michelle, and then in brackets, Shelley Kerr. She's 44 years old, 15th of October, 1969, and she is Scottish.
Well, for this segment of the podcast, I'll be transgender. Thank you very much.
What do you mean this section? Most fucking sections. Weirdo.
It's the voice. It's the voice.
I want to hear who John would be.
Flamini, without a doubt, because he's a nasty cunt. And the way he took out Danny Rose, that was fucking lovely. He was kind of waving to everybody, hey guys, I'm back. Watch out. Loved it.
Danny Rose must be the only fucking guy who's played in 2 successive NLDs who was fucking in orbit for one of them and on his arse the other one.
Do you know, I actually read something about Flamini this week. I know it's called Offside, which is an absolute shit rag of a media thing, but they actually do rundowns of like top 10 lists, and one was passing accuracy, and Gnabry made it in there, but of course he's only made a handful of games. But Flamini, out of everyone in the world, was about 6th or 7th. So I think we should say fair play to him for that.
Yeah, he was on the Squawka app too.
Yeah, I think his passing accuracy is something like 93. Mertesacker was in there as well, which I don't think people actually give him credit for enough, that he can pick a good pass.
So we had the top 10. I think we had like 3 or 4 players in there.
Yeah, it was. It was the 3 that we had was Gnabry and Mertesacker and Flamini. So anyway, carry on with the questions, fellas.
Go on then, Steve.
Right, now this is one aimed at Danny.
Oh.
And this is a stupid question, actually.
Oh, there's a fucking surprise.
Patel. Since Danny is called the German flower pot for his love of German cars, what flower pot are you?
It's who? Who's that? Well, if I'm the German flower pot, well, technically the German flower pot is what people used to call my car, not me.
Yeah.
My old name back in the days of Commodore Amiga and all that gaming, it was Dr. Aardvark. Don't ask why. I was 15, 16 at the time, and it seemed pretty cool. So who's that question aimed at? Everyone else, what sort of flower pot would they be?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I think Gimli would be a small ginger one, only big enough for an old poppy.
I'd be Mr. Tennis Elbow.
You'd be one of those little cactus pots with feet with 6 toes.
I think Gav would be one of them flower pots that didn't sit quite right and just fucking got on your nerves the whole time because it's always fucking going.
You
off in
can't
a
say
wonky
that Gav's a
direction.
factory defect, Danny.
He would be a wonky one that leaks all over the carpet, wouldn't he?
And then you think John would be one full of paella, full of angry paella.
And Jack.
Badly cooked paella that if you go near it, it's going to fucking kill you with anger.
Just explode in anger.
What sort of one would Steve be? Utter silence.
Yeah, really.
Ceramic.
One full of snow.
Yeah, a frozen one.
Oh, right, I suppose I should move.
Full of cop.
I should, yeah. No, if Gav was a flower pot, he'd be a caravan-shaped one.
And it'd have a little ponytail at the back.
Oh, if anyone wants to make those. Right, these are questions that are coming from 3 people, all based around the same stuff. At Marky249, at Bedsgooner, and at Rizzle Tricks. They are all saying, if we don't make signings in the January transfer window, can we win the league? With Theo out, can any of our youngsters step up and do what he did to help us win the title? And do you think we can win the league or any trophy if we don't sign someone? So the gist of that lot is, who can take Theo's place and can we win the title if we don't buy anyone? John?
Who can take Theo's place? I think we've already covered that. Ox, Gnabry. I think pretty much everybody can cover or has covered at some point since he's been gone. Can we win if we don't sign anybody? Yeah, of course we can win. Will it be tougher? Of course, but I think we need reinforcements. Even one player I think can lift spirits enough to give us enough fuel to last to the end.
Oh, good. Anyone else want to take a thing on that?
Yeah, no,
Maybe someone else has also asked at Kalle. Oh, fucking hell, I can't even say it. KALLEOLAUSSO1. He's saying, who should we play against Bayern? Go on, Gav.
Well, sorry, I was going to answer the question before, mate.
No, he says, who should we play? Is the Ox and Gnabry? I didn't read the rest of his question. Should we go for Ox or Gnabry? That's why it's...
Well, it's going to be Gnabry, isn't it? Because, Ox... he's... Depending on how he's got through, from what Steve was saying earlier, he come off after 49 minutes tonight, which is... it's good sign. He generally does that on people's first games back, but obviously it depends how he reacts to that. The problem when you've had a decent long injury is you come back and overexert yourself and you pull your hamstring and you're out for another 3 weeks, so he shouldn't be rushed back. So Gnabry for that one. And can we win the league without buying a striker? The answer is definitely no.
What do you think, Gim?
Yeah, I think...
Has someone got a hairdryer on? It's not Steve.
It sounds like it.
Not me.
Not me.
Sounds like someone's blow drying their hair, doesn't it? There's also a scratching noise as well. I reckon Gimli's doing a manicure of his feet and blow drying his big toe
I'm
hairs.
sat in the living room on my own. It's not me.
Go on then, Gim. What do you reckon? Who should play against Bayern and who's going to take the right and the positions, the wing positions?
I think you've always got to play what's best available to you. So Ozil's definitely got to play if Giroud's fit. Giroud's got to play. You've got to have Wilshere in there as well. Koscielny, Mertesacker. I don't think Vermaelen will make that game at all.
Gimli, did you listen to the question?
Yeah.
He said, who should play on the right? He said, who should play on the right against Munich?
We should just leave him to hosting because he's no good at answering questions.
No, just let me host. I'm more than happy.
Yeah, stop asking him questions. It gets tricky for him.
No, the gist of it is, who should play on the right, Ox or Gnabry, and especially against Bayern?
Oh, no, without doubt, it's got to be Gnabry. I don't think Ox is going to be ready to get back for that game. And I think it would be unfair with Wilshere in past games. I think we've pushed him too much on coming back off an injury, that he's gone out and got injured again. So I would just gently ease Ox into the first team and let Gnabry take that role for the time being.
Anyone else want to mention anything on that? Steve, maybe?
No, well, I think we have to buy it if we're going to have any chance of winning, because I think we've seen quite a few injuries this season already, and I'm afraid as the pitches get worse, as the weather seems to be staying as it is, that will mean more injuries. So, if something happens to Sanya or something happens to one of the players up front, we've got real issues, and I also think there's a big case for signing a defensive midfielder. And people go, "What? Well, we've got Flamini." Yeah, well, Flamini, that position, unfortunately, does carry quite a high tariff in cards, as Mr. Arteta is also finding out. And we've got the two players that specialise in that position. I mean, Flamini is picking a card a game up practically, and Arteta can't play more than a game and a half a week, really. So if one of those got injured, we really would need someone to come in. But the real killer is the forward. We've got to get a forward. But I think we can do something this season.
Oh, so you got any more questions from Facebook, Steve?
Yes, here's a controversial one. Pedro Dominguez says, if Wenger went out tomorrow morning and got our VP back from United and told the fans to back him and to trust Arsenal on this one, what would the panel members say?
Go fuck yourself. The pair of you. Go fuck each other.
Well, firstly, it's not going to happen.
No.
But secondly, even with the Arsenal players that I have a dislike for, the minute they walk on the pitch and they're wearing an Arsenal shirt, I don't give a fuck who they are, as long as they're trying their best, they're doing their best, and you've got to back them for 90 minutes on the pitch. So if that did happen, I'd hope you scored the goals to win us the league. But it's not going to. It's just a stupid question.
John?
I kind of agree with Gav there. I mean, it's not going to happen. Never going to happen. But, the way I always say, what I always say on Twitter when somebody's linked that I may not like, the second they sign that contract and put on the shirt, they got my support. So.
Oh, Gimli, you going to answer this one, or do you want to completely
I'll
answer it wrong?
This one.
Are you sure?
I don't like Bentner.
I
don't like Bentner. I
For a
think he's a
different
colossal cunt. But the moment that he puts on an Arsenal shirt, I'll always want him to score a goal.
I like Bentner. I think I'm the only one here who's actually got any time for the poor bloke.
I like
him as well.
Oh,
I just think he's a bit of a cunt, but I like the fact that he shagged Steve Bruce's daughter and fucked her off, and then popped over to Denmark and shagged the multi-millionaire princess, had a son with her, then fucked off.
Do we have to say allegedly for any of that lot, or can they just sue you?
No, it's not alleged. It's all in the papers.
They're never wrong.
And then popped off up to Sunderland to smash some cars up with Lee Cattermole. I mean, he's a top guy.
Did you know
and he
this
wears
is
some interesting clothes as well.
This is a lovely segment of the podcast for all the people that have been willing us to say the word cunt. I feel that we've said the word cunt quite a few times.
Can I say minge?
Yeah, go on. Give us a quick minge.
Minge.
Well, I've got
said
two.
With real sexual menace.
I'm going to go through the whole of you, and I want one word answers. The first one is from at Arsenal Burns, who is a friend of ours. Chips or pie? So, Gimli.
Pie.
GC.
Pie mash liquor.
Okay, fair enough. You don't understand the question. John.
Pie.
Steve.
Pie.
For me, even though Dorkley loves pie, I'm going to say chips. And the other quick fire question, one answer from all of you. Gav, one answer. It is from at BHAVIKD89. We all hate Tottenham with a passion. Which one player in particular do you hate the most and would like to punch them square in the face? So we'll go reverse order. Steve.
Sheringham.
Okay. He didn't say what era, so okay then. John?
Oh, any era.
Yeah.
Redknapp.
GC?
Oh, fuck me. Decisions.
You'd want to windmill the lot, wouldn't you?
One at a time, just line them up. I've always had a real hatred for... I can't decide. I'll say Gaza because Steve said Sheringham.
Gimli?
It's got to be Sheringham. I watched fucking Plymouth Argyle play West Ham and they beat Plymouth 5-2, and I fucking chucked a 2p coin at Teddy Sheringham. It fucking whizzed past his ear as well. I nearly got the cunt. Anyway, moving on.
I think
you're as bad as the Spurs fans.
They like fucking chucking away their money. They chuck a £1 coin. I'm cheap. I only chucked a fucking copper.
I think Steve needs a fine there, Gav. He said half the word.
I think you said the S word, didn't you, Steve?
That's what, Spurs?
No.
Oh, he's got that's fucking bankrupted him. Richest man on the podcast, he's bankrupt.
My answer would be, if one of you hold him, Gareth Bale, because I don't want to be monkey kicked in the face back. Or
Can
Clive.
I put in a mention for Robbie Keane as well? I always really wanted to just jump out the fucking stands and knock him spark out while I was doing that stupid fucking goal celebration of his.
So he's a fake machine gun on himself.
Defoe.
Oh, there's such a long list. This is a good question. Someone
Never like that big-eared cunt Lineker either. He speaks a load of bollocks still, doesn't he?
Bless him.
Go on, sorry, carry on.
The love.
World Cup.
Someone called Connor Ward, who is at Aldershot Gooner, was brave enough to tweet a picture of him wearing his Viviano Arsenal shirt. And so his question is, what was Viviano's greatest moment whilst at Arsenal?
Got to be his fancy
taking
dress
part-
costume at Christmas.
Being on the bench this past Saturday, no?
And that's about it. What did you say, Gim?
I said, I don't know what he came dressed as, but they all went for a fancy dress party, didn't they, at Christmas? So whatever he dressed as his fancy dress, it was his finest moment.
His finest moment actually was taking part in the Christmas carols because he really seemed to enjoy it and was singing along, smiling all over his face.
I heard he went to the Christmas party dressed as Almunia. Right,
What do you mean, Soldado in disguise?
That's it. The final question is a serious one. It's from King George, who is at King Arsenal 14. If Wenger doesn't... I'm reading it as a W. If Wenger doesn't buy a striker... As I don't pay his wages, I can't call him Wenger. If Wenger doesn't buy a striker now in January and we lose the title, does he survive if he promises a £50 million summer striker signing? Go on, Gav. Fucking no, Schleg. Tell him.
Well, it's quite simple. Do you know what I mean? Mr. Wenger said, keep saying, judge me in May, and this year should be the judge me in May. If he doesn't come up with winning anything or coming very, very close to winning something, then, he should go, but he's not going to because he makes the club too much bloody money and spends too little.
Go on in, Steve.
A lot of people are saying that it'll be very difficult to buy a player in January, but I don't agree. And I think actually it would be worth Arsenal even paying over the odds for a player in January because let's say, for example, we're keen on Diego Costa and he's 35 million quid now and we don't fucking pull it up and we go back in the summer and he's had a fucking brilliant World Cup and he's been one of the best players there. And the price is suddenly 50 and he now wants 250 grand a week, not 100 grand a week. People are going to be thinking, fuck, why didn't we just pay 5 million extra and get him in January? So I think we will get someone in the window. I don't think it probably will be what everybody would like. But I think at the end of the day, as Gav says, as long as he comes either very close to or win something, I don't think the fans will get on his case, and certainly the board won't. So it's a bit of a non-entity of a question, to be honest. And I think with the amount of money they're hoarding up in the bank, currently about 170 million quid, plus new Champions League money, new Premier League money, and new Puma money to come next year, they can certainly afford to buy not one £50 million player in the summer, but two.
And the 3% price increase, Steve. Don't forget the 3% price increase for next year.
That's gone on the electric bill, Gavin. It's gone on the electric bill. You can't spend the pennies for the meter, mate, because otherwise the commercial revenue team would have to fucking stop eating prawn sandwiches and do some work and make some fucking money. And we all know they don't like making money.
How about you, John? What do you reckon?
If we don't buy and we lose out, does he survive? Well, yeah, of course. Arsenal's not going to fire Wenger. Do we go in for a top striker in January, though, or do we go for a loan option? Is the question that we got to look at. It's. I don't think it's tough. I think the money talks in January to make those players move. So, do we pay over the odds for a top guy, or do we buy or do we get a stopgap?
Because the other thing, John, as well is you also got to look at prize money because. Let's say, for example, we win the Premier League. The prize money for that is £44 million. So that more or less pays the money straight back for the player, his transfer fee straight away. The other thing is that in every sponsorship deal we've got, if we win the league or we win the FA Cup, they have to pay us more money. So, the point of spending a bit over the odds now, let's say, for example, we had to pay 40 million quid to remove Costa out of there and give him a bit higher wages. If he comes in and wins us the league, all of a sudden we got the 40 million quid back. We'll probably get his wages. We get his wage money back as well because the sponsorship extra money. So there's that to take into consideration as well.
And you're bang on, Steve, with what you said. I mean, I was saying that in the week myself. Even though people were saying January is traditionally a hard time to buy players, I mean, we've bought a lot of players in January. I mean, I believe Reyes, Walcott, R7. I mean, we're not
on Real.
Yeah, I mean, we've bought top players in January.
So another
this
clubs.
year,
I mean, Liverpool bought Suarez in January. So
exactly. I mean, it is a good time, and like I say, I mean, again, what you're saying with regards to the World Cup, what's going to happen come the end of the season is there's going to be very, very little transfer activity done before the World Cup, especially players that are in a long-term contract or players that haven't got a sort of a pre-contract signed already. And like I say, by the time they come back from the World Cup, then they go on holiday for 2 weeks. Then before you know it, pre-season starts.
Well, Costa. One thing about Costa you got to keep in mind is that he's likely going to play for Spain in the World Cup, so he's going to have a huge World Cup.
Exactly. So, like I say, I mean, I think it's going to be more difficult in the summer to buy a top player, and certainly, as Steve says, more expensive than it is now.
Well, before I go on to Gimli to ask him what's his opinion on that is, I'll keep mine short. I would say because the team has shown such promise this season that I would say I don't care what happens this season, I still want Wenger as manager next season. Gim?
Yeah, I think there's not really a lot that I can add to what Steve has already said. If he doesn't go out and buy anyone and we come second or third, then Champions League is Champions League. We'll build for next season in the hope that, yes, he will buy someone. So, yeah, he's got to keep the job. All I can say is look at Man United and the predicament that they're in at the moment. And
they was shit last year. Man United was shit last year. Do you know what I mean?
They still won a fucking league, though, Gav. That's more than we managed.
Like I say, the only difference between Man United last year and Man United this year is the fact that the refs are no longer shitting themselves.
They're back down to an 11-man team.
Yeah, and the fact that Van Persie is not banging in the amount of goals he is.
But Gav, you can't say that none of that was down to Ferguson, because it was. He was, as much as we all hate him, and I hated the red-nosed Rudolph Tosser.
He's a very, very good manager. But last year he was a very good manager of an average side plus Van Persie.
Exactly, and all Moyes is left with now is an average side that can't motivate themselves to play the small games.
Yeah, Can we get back to the Arsenal, please, and stop going on about the Northern vermin? Thank you.
So, do you want to move this on to shout-outs, Gim? Or if you finish answering the question, Gim?
So, yes.
Well, that's all my Twitter questions done, and Steve, that's all the Facebook ones done, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed.
Okay, well, do you want to do the move it on then, Gim?
Yeah. Wonderful. I'd like your predictions then for Aston Villa, and I'll start with you, Danny.
We are away. Aston Villa are absolutely shit. The manager's about to get the sack, and the players don't give a fuck. So I reckon we're going to go there 4-0.
Okay.
And I'm going to say first goal scorer, Podolski, because he's got to play on the left-hand side.
And Gav?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with much of what Danny said there, really. Very, very good time to play them. I'm going for 3-0, and I'll go first goal scorer will be the big fucking German.
Okay, Steve?
Do you mean Gnabry?
Well, I think the players have got a point to prove against Villa. I think they were very pissed off when the referee made some diabolical decisions in the first game of the season. I think they're going to go up there and really turn it on against them. And I don't really see that they've really cared too much about what's going on up there. So I'm going to go 3-1 to us. And I think the first scorer will be Ozil.
Fucking hell, every week.
Hold on, I've just had a carrier pigeon come in. Yes, Speckled Jim, thank you very much. Oh, it's a telegram from Steve, from Jeff. He says 1-0 Giroud. Just in case it helps anybody, the kickoff is 8 o'clock on Monday night, and Swarbrick is the referee. And the last time he was our referee, well, it's been a while. Just talk amongst yourselves. He hasn't refereed us in quite a while. Fucking, I'm on page 4 now. Still nothing. Oh, the 16th of April 2013, we drew at home 0-0 with Everton. 5 yellow cards. Well, I've never heard of the bloke. And then trying to go back after. No, doesn't want to know. There you go. That's as far back as it'll go. So, no
John?
idea.
I'm going to say 3-0 Giroud.
Okay.
How about you, Mr. Gimli? I'll ask you and make you feel loved.
I'm going 2-0 Arsenal, and
Ozil?
every week fucking FK nicks my goal scorer. I always try to go a little bit out there, and he always nicks either the goal scorer or the prediction, but I'm going 2-0 and I will go Ozil.
The Abbey? Oh, for fuck's sake. I thought you said you were going out there.
Yeah, well, not out there, just a little bit out there.
And I've just had an email, a sexy email, with FK naked with 3-0 Walcott typed on his chest in some red lipstick, the dirty whore.
I thought he was...
Oh, no, that's last week's one. No, that's the weeks before, and the week before, and the week before. Each one with a slightly different shade of lipstick for the ladies.
He was deep to the hinge end in some... in some
monstrosity.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a train wreck.
Choo-woo, mother trucker.
Okay, so shout-outs then, and we'll go back to you, Danny.
Ah, good. Right. Well, I was going to say hello to Connor Ward, but we've already mentioned him with his Arsenal shirt, with the Viviano shirt. So Tim Hardwick, who is Barcelona, I think we've all know of him. I think he's got a picture of Anders Limpar as his avatar. And one of the person we've been trying to get on the podcast for a long time, Peter, who is at Gooner 1947, and he has officially been a Gooner for 273 years.
Yep.
That is a fact.
It is a fact.
Hello, Peter.
And over to Steve.
Yeah, I've got two shout-outs this week. One is to a guy called Uncle Gnepon, which is at Gnepon. He's a Polish chap who's frightfully English, and he loves betting and stats and
Minge.
No, he's a married young man, and he's very much into his literature. He does like a rant, and he's very sarcastic and very funny, and a good chap. And the second mention goes out to a lady, Denise, who's at Arsenal Girl 1971, who has a great line in sarcasm, a great love for her ex-husband, well, a great love for wishing he would die quicker.
I thought you were going to say Minge. She's got a great love for Minge.
And no, she's a very nice lady, and she likes to drink, so yeah, you should go and follow her.
Do you want to say the word Minge just to finish it all off?
No, I'm going to come back at the end after Gimli's done his. I've got something I need to get out of my system.
That sounds ominous.
John?
John?
Anticipation.
I'm going to give a shout out to a guy named Brian on Twitter at Arsenal627. He's a stateside Gooner. Also follows the Bengals, which we lost this last weekend in the other football playoffs in the U.S.
Go Dolphins.
And, yeah, no.
I've been humoured.
And out of the people that asked the questions on Twitter, which we answered most of them, at Harry Bellman, and that asked about a striker, and I think I pretty much covered that ad nauseum. And the British Core _.
Okay. Who's clipping their toenails in the background?
Nails. Sorry.
Oh, you're a freak.
Well, I've run out of cheesy cheddar, so I'm going cheesy toenails.
Oh,
Jesus.
sick bastard.
There's just no end to his depravity, is there?
He's, to paint a picture of Danny on a podcast night, he's sat there with 10 bags of mini cheddars, all pork scratchings. Take your pick.
Pig.
What?
What a diet.
Fuck off, what? A seafood diet?
I actually am on a wonderful diet. I have lost nearly 4 stone already this year.
You should lie and fuck with.
No,
every day must be in the garden then.
What, in 9 fucking days?
No, every time I have a shit, I put it in a bucket, and so far I've got 4 stones worth of shit.
No.
I've lost 4 stone.
He's taken it down to a new level. Gav, can you redeem us with your shout-outs, please?
Yeah, my shout-out is for all the fellow people that helped me out on the admin page of the She War on Facebook, which is facebook.com/She War, and everybody who contributes there on a daily basis who have kept me sane in the first week back after Christmas. Everybody has a good giggle, everybody has a good banter and a good laugh against each other. And yeah, so thank you to everybody on there, and shout out to you lot, really.
Fantastic. And my one is to Gooner Girl Kate, who's staying sober for January to raise money for the RS Trust.
She's drinking meth behind your back, mate.
Seriously, mate, you should see what I'm doing to her with a home phone.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Not in a fucking Sol
What
Campbell
ethnic
kind
shit
of
you're
way.
doing, do you know what I mean?
No, not in a Sol Campbell kind of way. Literally, I've been trying to get on her tits all week, right? So I can change. So I've been changing the name of the home phone, and I changed it to this morning. She woke up and the home phone read bumholes with 2 zeros. It's perfect. If you go and read my
them.
No, I didn't.
Oh, schoolboy error.
I didn't have the capability off of a BT home phone to do an umlaut. It just read bumholes, and she's like, "Oh, what have you done?" So she tried to get her own back, but wrote boobies like you write on a calculator. It was a poor attempt, to be honest. But no, she's staying sober for January if I don't annoy the fuck out of her enough to actually drink some of the Jack Daniels she's got. So go and check out her page and donate a little bit of money. It's for a worthy cause.
How can anybody live with you and be fucking sober?
Do you know what? I live with me every day, and even I have to get pissed every night.
Gav, did you say that you wanted to say hello to the people who help run your site? Is Cesc_Pistol one of those people?
He can do, yeah.
Because he just sent me a tweet that says, Gav's a massive pikey who lives in a caravan. Seriously, and I've retweeted it.
The problem with my friend Cesc_Pistol is
in Las Vegas with his lover.
Las Vegas, Danny,
you remember that one,
Las Vegas.
Basically, the fat lard that is Cesc_Pistol actually lives out in Kent, which is obviously well known as being the caravan capital of the world. And he's always tried to turn it on me that I'm the one living in the caravan, when unfortunately the poor boy lives in Medway.
His life is snatch, is what you're trying to say.
So, I mean, I do apologise to anybody who listens who's in Medway, but you'll probably see him. He's the one with elasticated waistbands on his jeans, found hanging outside kebab shops or the local Indian.
This has been an hour and 50 minutes already, for fuck's sake.
We said it was only going to be an hour and a half.
Sorry, people.
They love it when it's long. They like it long and hard.
All right, FK's not here.
They've had it all waste tonight. They've had it high, going in late, high and hard with Hillier, and now they've got it long and hard with us lot. Can't complain about that.
Oh, one for the ladies.
Indeed.
Fantastic.
Anyway, can I go and watch EastEnders now?
No, before we go, I do feel that we should give a mention to the hideous denizens of N17. The swamp dwellers, the inhabitants of Edmonton. The coin tossers of Old Tottenham High Road, those obsessed, bitter individuals who have been in hiding for the last 9 weeks after being beaten 6-0 by City, being beaten 3-0 by West Ham twice, who had 6 foot past them last night, and then by coming to Arsenal being completely outplayed for 90 minutes, put in their place, and they should have lost by at least 8-0. It must be a really sobering thought to wake up in the morning and realise, Jesus, we haven't finished above Arsenal in 18 years. It's going to be 19 this year. We went 10 years, a whole decade in the league without beating them in a North London derby in the league. And we haven't won the league for 53 years. Why do I do it? Why do I do it?
Ole, ole, ole. Ole, 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 ole. Tottenham, will you ever win the Premier League?
No, you're shit.
Ole, 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 ole. Ole, 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 ole.
Well, I'm moist.
So, that was a Bergkamp Wonderland.
Will you ever
podcast.
win the Premier League?
Thank you very much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
And if you're a Tottenham fan, go and fuck yourself.